Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! I was working for an electronics store that's no longer in business. It was a real shack. On this lovely day, a 20-something dude races into my life. He seriously tweaked, bouncing off the walls and asking about almost every toy we had. He went through our entire stock and finally just had to have a cool little drone that we sold for about 40 bucks, including the tax. He gives me a $100 bill. He had a fat stack and he was determined to spend some of it on anything. He wasn't leaving without buying something. I ring him up, give him 3 20s and some coins. His total was $39.43. A couple hours later, a giant police officer strolls in. He needs my help. The giant has a photocopy of 10 $100 bills, and he's looking for this specific serial number. I only have one C note in the till, and sure enough, it's a match. Tweaker Boy was set up by undercover officers for a myth buy. They gave him $1,000 in specific, photocopied $100 bills in the parking lot of our strip mall. And while one cop went to get an arrest warrant, Tweaker Boy dashed right into my shack to spend some of his new wealth. So the giant needed to return the drone and get back the special $100 bill. No problem. It's a cool story for the boss. The cop already had the receipt and an envelope with 3 $20 bills and some coins. I process the return and the giant gets his special $100 bill, and I start to do the daily deposit. When I take the 20s out of the envelope, they feel wrong. They looked pretty normal, but the paper was wrong. Anybody who handles lots of cash would have felt it immediately, and I did. They were definitely counterfeit. I tried calling the police, but it's a Saturday evening, and no one answers. So, no choice. I called 911. After explaining the situation to the nice lady, she finally tracks down the correct department and the giant. He calls me back in a couple of minutes. Seriously? The bills are fake? He asked. Very fake. I told him. He gets back in less than 10 minutes with real money and fills me in with the rest of the story. When they arrested the Tweaker Boy, they took his fat stack. Wearing those blue latex gloves, of course. He looked at the receipt and saw the change for the drone was like $60 and coins. So he put that into an envelope with the receipt and returned the drone to get his special $100 bill back. But because he had the gloves on, he couldn't feel the bad paper. After I called him, they went through his wad of cash. He had a couple $100 and funny money. So he was definitely going to need to swap out my bogus 20s for real money. The giant was laughing that the relatively average drug dealer was now going to have to deal with a United States Secret Service. Counterfeiting is a federal crime, way out of his jurisdiction. He got his meth dealer and then passed him off to federal agents. So everybody gets a shot at Tweaker Boy. Here is a fun one. Years ago, I would often babysit my neighbor's 9 to 10-year-old girl. He was a divorced father with a kind of ex that would send spreadsheets of child-rearing expenses calculated to the penny and weekly invoices complete with terms and penalties of her own choosing for late payments. He paid big child support and generally paid her invoices on time because she would cut off access to kiddo if he didn't. His ex, the snake, and I had basic text messaging contact. She and I had a previous dust-up because a sudden weather change necessitated the jacket for kiddo. We popped into the nearest discount store and I let her pick a jacket. Kiddo loved it, but her mother threw a giant fit at me because it wasn't a brand name. I blew it off at the neighbor and I laughed about it when he reimbursed me. She gave me the silent treatment. Darn! Time moved forward, father always reimbursed kiddo's expenses and encouraged fun and healthy activities. One day he called me and apologized that he was getting held up at work and kiddo had an orthodontist appointment. He asked me to take her and I agreed, and he called the dentist to authorize. We got there and they wouldn't see her without a payment, $225. It was necessary, the kiddo's braces were hurting her, and Dad wasn't available. But I knew he would reimburse me, so I put it on my credit card rather than call her snake of a mother. The kiddo got patched up. Dad reimbursed me, and I paid the card and didn't use it. A few months later, I got a past due call from my card company. Repeat charges from the orthodontist. I let Dad know and called the orthodontist, who told me that I signed an automatic payment agreement. I gave my heck no, I'm just a babysitter speech, and didn't get far with them. So I cancelled the card. Dad apologized profusely and reimbursed me. A month later, I got a nasty call from the orthodontist about my card declining. I kindly informed him that I am not the parent and provided the snake's phone number. About an hour later, the snake is furiously calling and texting me. I silenced my phone and looked later. She maxed out my voicemail and all of her text messages were about how I was abusing her child by denying the kid medical care. One voicemail was from the police letting me know that she filed a complaint, how I could get a copy for my attorney, and inquiring about whether I wanted to file a counter-complaint. And I sure did. I moved out of state and the prosecutor called me once just to ask questions. Then, I never heard back from the prosecutor. Last I heard from kiddo's grandmother, the snake took a plea bargain. Dad got custody, and grandma was enjoying a lot more time with the kiddo. Edit for clarification. Friends, credit card fraud is illegal. Charging stuff to someone else's card is credit card fraud. She basically ratted her own self out to the police by filing a complaint that I wouldn't let her steal from me anymore. She probably pled guilty to theft by deception, forgery, and/or both, or a combination of similar charges. I have never cared enough to try to find out. And there is nothing in the world that obligates me to pay for dental care for someone else's kid. That is such a strange stretch. Just no, that's not a thing. As many of the Karen stories do, mine also starts inside a store I was at. I was walking around looking for what I came here to get, then all of a sudden I hear screaming. A woman screaming at the top of her lungs while crying and yelling, "Stop! Please stop it!" I paced to where the sound of screaming is coming from until I turn around the corner into one of the aisles, and I see one of the most horrifying scenes I have ever seen in my entire life. You've got to have the mentality of a saint or something to witness something like this and not give up on humanity, to be honest. Anyways, in that aisle, there was a girl in her 20s, flat on her back on the floor, while a boy that looked to be around 10 years old or something, wearing a clown mask, making weird growling noises, grabbing the poor girl's prosthetic leg and trying to pull it off with all his might. All while what seemed to be his Karen of a mother was standing on top of that girl, watching what's happening with the biggest evil grin on her face. I couldn't believe what I was seeing, but I'm glad it didn't take me long before my body started moving on its own, rushing towards that demon of a kid and pulling him off the poor girl and pushing him away from her. Then I turned to the girl and tried to console her and calm her down. "Did you just shove my baby?" The horrible Karen screeched at me. I couldn't control myself when I heard that. I found myself yelling, "Of course you are his mother. Why am I not surprised? What the hell were you thinking letting your brat do this god-awful thing to a disabled girl? And right under your nose nonetheless. You were even standing right there cheering for him, weren't you? Which I will put you down for shoving my boy like that. And just so you know, when I'm done with you, I will pull out that robot leg of hers myself for my boy to play with as much as he likes." And yeah, she wasn't actually all talk. She started moving towards me in a very aggressive manner, clearly determined to fulfill her threat. Unlucky for her, she had no idea I was a black belt myself. The moment she reached me and threw the first punch, I safely deflected it and instantly sent her to the floor without a move, with a swift elbow strike to the chin. And suddenly, all the noise went from 100 to 0. The moment she was completely out and flat on her back, time stopped for a moment. Then her brat snapped out of it and started screaming as if he lost his mind. Yeah, like he had one. Then he went to the nearest shelf, picked up some milk bottles, and kept throwing them at me with all he got. I didn't really attempt to detain him or anything. Just shielded myself as much as I could until the security guards came running and stopped him themselves. Police were called, of course. They took our statements along with what some of the witnesses had to tell them. They also pulled down the CCTV footage and let me know that they will keep in touch with me. Especially after I was very clear that me and the poor disabled girl were determined to press charges on this crazy woman and her kids. The girl's father was called to come pick her up from the store, and I stayed with her till he arrived. They both kept thanking me for standing up to the bullies and stepping in to save the girl. Then her father insisted that I accept his invitation for dinner later that week to show his gratitude. And I accepted. Yeah, that will be it for the time being. I will keep you posted regarding any further updates on this case. I really hope she rots in prison for a long time for doing this. And I don't know if it's too late for that brat to turn his life around or not, but if it's too late, I truly hope that someone out there would stop him before he hurts more people. Because right now, like, he's 10 years old and doing something like this to innocent people in public, I wonder what he would do to others when he gets stronger. It's indeed scary. Please, raise your kids to be decent human beings. After dealing with my husband 29 male cheating on me and loudly disrespecting me for 2 years, I 23 female finally left him 4 months ago. He assumed no responsibility for the marital bills and I had to sell the house and his truck by myself. When I left him, there was also a $400 phone bill in both of our names. I ended up just paying the overdue bill a few months ago under the stipulation that my ex-husband gives me $200 for his share. He gave me $90, then laughed at me for expecting him to pay me the other $110, stating that he doesn't owe me a thing. About a week ago, I went into the store of my current cell phone provider and learned that I'm paying twice as much as I should be paying for the phone, because I'm still being charged $40 a month for my ex-husband's phone. There is still $800 plus owed on it. I learned that the remaining balance was not transferred over because he failed to sign the required paperwork. I explained the situation to my ex-husband and he was more than willing to join a conference call with me and customer service to get the remaining balance transferred to his own account, and we had spent approximately 20 minutes on the phone before my ex-husband told the customer service woman that he is making payments on his own phone through his own account, that he doesn't have a clue what I'm talking about, and that whatever I have called to inquire about, it's clearly not even his business. Then he hung up. So today I spoke with customer service again and learned that I technically own the phone since it is in my name. So I made a police report. I reported the phone as stolen and it was now flagged and shut off. This happened to me about 2 years ago. I used to be a service manager at one of the biggest locations of a popular Mexican grill. I won't say which, but guac was $1.95 extra, and we were required to ask everyone if they were okay paying that price. One Sunday morning, our second busiest shift of the week, 2 of my line people called out, so we were struggling to get all of our prep done before opening at 11. We are just wrapping up when Karen comes in 10 minutes before opening through the side door, marked employees only with 15 preteen girls in tow. My cook recognizes her as she regularly comes in during the dinner shift and is extremely abusive and cruel to all the Latino workers. Karen tells me they can order whatever they want, throws her credit card at me, and goes to sit down at a table and doodle on her phone. Now I can't ring up her order without her standing there because of the company rules, and I'm 30 weeks pregnant and just want to take my break. I waddled over to Karen's table, to try and inform her of that when she literally flicks her hand at me to dismiss me. Not only have I been at the store since 7 and done 2 different people's jobs on top of my own, I have my son's head grinding against my pelvic bones and kicking me like crazy. I'm in no mood. When I try to tell her again, she looks at me with what I can only describe as seething contempt, and she says, "What part of them can get whatever they want? Did you not understand? I do not care what you charge me as long as I get a receipt. Don't interrupt me again, or I will get you fired." Now, I never cry, but that almost got me. Motherhood is awesome, but pregnancy sucks. I finally managed to pick my jaw off the ground and stammer, "Alright ma'am, I'll ring up whatever they want and bring you a receipt." The girls were really nice, and most of them ordered double meat, and they all got bottled water and chips and guac. Every last one. My cashier and I are just vibrating with glee as we ring them up and watch the bill climb up to $250. I brought the bill to Karen and was pretty excited when she didn't immediately check it. I made my own food and told the cook to come get me when the show starts. I'm halfway done eating when I see him waving to the camera, howling with laughter. So I head up. Karen is foaming at the mouth screaming for the manager, and when she sees that the manager is me, she literally grinds her teeth and slaps her receipt on the table. And she manages to choke out the word refund. The girls have all pretty much finished their food, so I told her that I won't be doing that because I would lose my job for giving away that much critical inventory, meat, guac and cheese, for free. Then I gently remind her that she told me twice that they could get anything as long as she got a receipt. She just keeps demanding a refund and calling me stupid. At this point, her screaming is holding up the very long line and customers are shouting at her to just leave. And that's when she pushed me really hard. My cashier caught me so I didn't fall down, but 2 of our regulars, who are police, saw it and immediately cuffed her. In this state, any use of physical force against a pregnant woman is classified as aggravated battery or something like that. I felt bad for the kids and I was fine, so I kept telling them that I did not want to press charges, but they said that at this point, it didn't matter because a woman had done it in front of an on-duty officers, so she was getting arrested. They had to call the kids' parents to come get them because she was their church's youth leader and get statements. My GM came in and let me go home with a full day's pay. She tried to take the case to trial, but they had video and like 20 witness statements, so she ended up taking a couple years probation or something like that. All because I did exactly what she told me to do. So this happened back around the end of 2018. I work for a supported community living company. My day-to-day consisted of assisting clients with developmental disabilities perform daily tasks such as administrating medication, toileting, transportation. But a major part of what I did was behavior de-escalation. Many individuals that are part of the IDD community have behavior issues that range from harmless to extremely violent. I sincerely enjoyed this part of my job. At times it was dangerous, but you would always learn so much from just trying to help them regulate their emotions. A behavior is just them trying to communicate a want or a need that they have. They just don't know how to use their words sometimes. On this particular day, the client that I was closest to had a meltdown, punched holes in the wall, tore a blackboard off the wall, pushed over a large cabinet, stripped naked, threw fecal matter and the works. Mind you, this was actually pretty common for them, especially around winter time when they missed their family. Eventually, after hours of trying on our own to calm them down, we had to call the police. When they arrived, 3 officers, 2 of them were very kind and then an arrogant one. My client became sort of quiet and compliant. I knew from years of working with them that definitely was not a good sign. My supervisor also noticed this, and as we told him to watch out, the arrogant one stated, "We know how to do our jobs, ma'am." Cue malicious compliance. So I, being the dutiful citizen I am, Shut my mouth and my supervisor did the same. We watched the client edge closer as the officers were speaking to them. I should mention they were able to get the client to put on clothes before this. When they were within arm's reach, my clients made their move. As fast as lightning, my client proceeded to slap the arrogant jerk in the face with their crappy hands. At that point, it was an assault on an officer, so they swiftly cuffed him and sent him to a holding cell at the sheriff's department until they had calmed down enough to be released. Being a part of the IDD community prevented them from pressing any kind of charges on my client, so they got off pretty easy. The arrogant jerk, on the other hand, ended up with pink eye for 2 weeks. I found out later on from a state trooper friend that he was pretty disliked in general, so it made for a good laugh for them as well. Edit. I absolutely understand where the concern comes from about the client's safety, and as part of my job that was also my utmost concern as well. The area that I live in is pretty rural, so the most opportunities for employment are found either at a factory or an SCL company. The police in this area are actually very used to dealing with this community because of this. This was not the first time we had called them for this particular client, and one of them had actually transported this client to a mental health hospital for us previously. They just sent the wrong officer this time. This time Plapper Mouse and brother-in-law's youngest child, 18 male, I will call him the entitled Apple Kid, as apparently the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. The entitled Apple Kid is going to start college in September if everything goes well. As some Redditors might know, I have a college fund for some people in the family, the entitled Kid included. They have strict stipulations and it only covers books and tuition. No extracurriculars, housing or living expenses. They want to go and live someplace else? Fine. On your own dime, that is. At the start of this whole drama, the eldest of mine had finished college. The second is set on graduating this year, and the two middle ones are busy with college. And the entitled one is the last one. With all that happened, the entitled kid reared his head from time to time with offhand remarks and in the beginning demands for money. We made it very clear in words and on paper that if he continued with this or did other things that were by law not allowed, he could wave his funds goodbye. Happy and I operated on the notion of a child should not suffer for its parents' blatant stupidity. If they decide to be stupid themselves, they shall reap what they saw. Plapper Mouse and brother-in-law have had some stern talks with the entitled kid to keep his head down and to his studies so he could get his things paid for. They have always known we would never just hand over the money, or get the information, confirm it and pay for it. Still, they didn't complain about that free money. Now about the incident. We have instructed my eldest not to escalate situations, call us or law enforcement, and seek out other adults if needed and possible in case of conflict. Filming whatever he could was something he already had figured out. Well, the entitled kid and my eldest met by chance a couple of days ago while my eldest and his siblings went out together. My eldest just gave him a hello and turned to walk away. But the entitled kid didn't like seeing him or whatever and started to shout and curse at my eldest, preventing him from leaving. My two youngest heard the commotion and ran to their brother's aid, and the youngest started filming. The entitled kid kept pushing his chest against the eldest and complimented my son. He never hurt him and stayed calm. When the entitled kid grabbed his shirt, he used some of his skills in self-defense to make sure the entitled kid let him go, but nothing else. My middle child then said something to the entitled kid. Is it a family trait to want to go to jail or something? If you hurt him, you will go there. You might see your mother again. The entitled kid stopped, looked at them all, and ran for it. Kids got home, showed me the footage along with witnesses footage and contact details, and we made a trip to the police station to file a report. Then we called our lovely lawyer friend to set things in motion for a restraining order or whatever is possible. After all that, we made a copy of the footage my children made and a police report and sent it to the brother-in-law. Attached to it was a note that another student thanked him for their donation of a college fund since the entitled kid decided he can do without. He threw away his chance with his own actions. According to the eldest niece, their parents were not happy. Not happy at all. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.